All right, welcome back inside the TCO studios as we recap day number 2 of the 2022 NFL Draft for the Minnesota Vikings. And I have the pleasure of being joined by Tatum Everett tonight. She wasn't here last night, and Ron Johnson is here again. And Ron, like I told you before, I should have wore the blue vest, but I knew you were wearing it. Because more importantly, this Vikings team got a lot better. And I wanted us to all look to par because when you look at it, there were a lot of trades, again, before all of this came to fruition. So to start the things off tonight, the Minnesota Vikings traded the 34th overall pick to the Green Bay Packers for their 53rd overall pick and the 59th overall pick, both second rounders. But the Vikings said, okay, let's use some of those picks, one of those picks to move back up in the draft. And they traded with the Indianapolis Colts and received their 42nd overall pick and then received the 4th round pick, which the Vikings didn't have last night. And in return, the Vikings gave them their 53rd overall pick, 3rd round pick, and the 6th round pick. And that's all the math that I'm going to do tonight because the Minnesota Vikings, like I said, got better, starting off with Andrew Booth Jr. They picked him up in the 2nd round, then picked up Ed Ingram, interior offensive lineman from LSU, then wrapped the night off with signing Brian Asamoah, linebacker from Oklahoma. Ron, your thoughts on Andrew Booth Jr.?
I mean, if you look at Andrew Booth Jr., 6 feet. So who does he remind me of? If you look at all the cornerbacks that have gone that ran what he ran, which is 4.52. You got Rondé Barber at 4.62. You got Charles Woodson at 4.44. You got J.C. Jackson at 4.46. And then Marcus Peters is the one for me. 4.53. So everybody that was questioning the speed and all that kind of stuff, you just have to be good at your position. And when you watch him fire downhill, you don't see him take a lot of false steps. You see him read his keys and attack. He's not a guy that's going to wait. He's not afraid to put his hat in there and make a big hit and come up and deplete some people. He attacks the ball at the high point you see there, and he can one-hand some balls like Charles Woodson. So he's a guy that he's not the 6'2 corner, but he's not the 5'8 corner. At 6 feet, he's the average cornerback out there. I like his ability to see the ball and go get the ball. And he has swagger. I keep bringing that up. Cornerbacks have to have swag. You got to have that it factor. He also the pedigree. He's come from Clemson. You look at all the pedigree players that they got, LSU, Clemson, Georgia. Those are all national championships in the last 4 years. So these guys know how to win. You're just bringing more winners into this organization.
Yeah, we need winners, and we definitely need it at the cornerback position. That was a big need for the Minnesota Vikings. And after they addressed the safety position last night, they went cornerback. And then they said, all right, let's address this offensive line position. Move to the offensive side of the ball, and they got somebody from Tatum's alma mater, LSU, Ed Ingram. Your thoughts?
Yeah, just my neck of the woods, right? Well, Ed Ingram is someone that I think these Vikings fans should be excited about as far as talent. I know a lot of what the coaching staff said, and really to Ron's point about the championship is this guy has played in a ton of games. He has great size, great speed. He's played both left and right guard, although he started all 11 games last season at left. So he has some versatility, and it's someone that they feel that they can plug in and hit the ground running. As you can see, he's a really big guy, 6'3", 307, and rated the best guard in the SEC in pass protection last season by PFF. But when I talked to him earlier tonight, he loves to run block, especially when you put him in situations, 3rd and short, 4th and 1. He said, give me a man to push in front of me to get the first down. I'm your guy you want to run behind. And I thought that enthusiasm was really refreshing. And obviously he has the connection with Justin Jefferson and the other LSU guys, and he's ready to go.
Yeah, and he played, 3 out of 5 years at LSU, and he's played a lot of football. He's played some big-time football also, and when you bring a guy like that in, that only adds value to what this Minnesota Vikings team wants to do at that left guard or right guard position. But Ron, the Vikings rounded the night off with what a lot of people are saying, the steal of the draft. Brian Asamoah, he calls himself the new modern linebacker. Your thoughts on what he'll bring to this team?
Yeah, at 226 pounds, he's an undersized linebacker. But then I go to Cato June, who played linebacker, former safety from the University of Michigan, now the Colts linebackers coach, who the Vikings traded with. So right away, I text him, I text Reggie Wayne, what did they think of him? They said right away, fast. Kid plays fast, plays downhill, he's explosive. He's an explosive blitzer. And so you think about that 3-4 defense and some of the sub packages. He's a guy you can call a rover, if you want to say. He's not a backer, he's not a safety. He's an athlete, he's a football player, he's a true will linebacker. He's not going to be the run stopper, the blitzing, or going after the quarterback like a Danielle Hunter. Yeah. He's going to be your stand-up guy, kind of in space. He can cover linebackers, he can cover receivers, he can cover running backs. This is the key. he can spy the quarterback. And I think that's what Cato Jr. and the coach liked about him is his ability to spy the quarterback. The reason why, look at who the Vikings play. They're going to face 9 quarterbacks that are considered running quarterbacks that can hurt you. Josh Allen being one, Jalen Hurts. Taysom Hill, who knows if he's going to play, but if he does, he's not throwing the ball. So a guy like that, you can spy the quarterback, and your corners can go play coverage, your safeties can play coverage. You don't have to worry when he takes off running because Kyler Murray, we know when he gets to moving, it's scary. But this is a guy with speed that plays like he runs a 4.4, they say. He ran a 4.5, but he plays like he runs a 4.4.
Yeah, he excels in coverage, is exactly to your point. I found this fact earlier that I just had to share. Gabe, I shared it with you earlier. Only 1 touchdown allowed in over 569 coverage snaps in the last 2 seasons. That's a guy you don't want to throw against, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, he was the MVP of the Senior Bowl as a linebacker this past year in the Senior Bowls. So, I mean, the guy knows how to play big-time football. Won 3 conference championships in the Big 12. I know a lot of people say that's not saying a lot because until you play the SEC, it doesn't really mean anything. But more importantly, there's some SEC guys on the board tomorrow. Not sure if the Vikings are going to go that route, but also Tatum, when you look at what the Vikings have already done in the draft thus far, where do you see them making their next steps?
I know there was a lot of talk about maybe going receiver with that 12th pick early on, but I think there's still some value at that spot here in the third and on the third day of the draft. One of those guys I have my eye on is Calvin Austin III out of Memphis. He's got a skill set that's very similar to Tutu Atwell, which is someone that Kevin O'Connell and the Rams picked up. He can change his speed, even shows ability to be a rusher at times. And so I think that's someone to keep your eye on if the Vikings stay at 122 in the 4th round. I'm not sure if he would stay on the board much longer than that. But if you're going to go later on in like the 6th and 7th round, I'd eye a guy like Bo Melton out of Rutgers, who would be a really good special teams weapon. Maybe not so impactful early on, but definitely someone, again, with a lot of speed, something that I think would complement this group of wide receivers. And I don't want to say project as a negative thing, but someone who could really be developed once he gets in the building.
Ron, Tatum wants to go wide receiver, so I know you're probably licking your chops right now. Yeah, we get another wide receiver in the building, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with her on that. Like, I do think when you look at who's going to compete on this team, who's going to play on this team, I think receiver could be the way to go, but also tight end. There's some good tight ends still out there that Irv Smith is the guy. We know that. There are 4 other guys on this roster that can help out. But do you have a guy? Do you have a succession plan? What's your next step to get kind of like a Kyle Rudolph, a bigger guy? I mean, there's some big guys. There's some guys, I'm not going to talk about next year's draft. I've been watching some college football games when you look at the Georgia game. I mean, there's some big-time tight ends coming out next year, too. But if you're looking at this year, Cole Turner out of Nevada, he's a project. He played receiver for 2 years. They turned him into a tight end while he was at college at Nevada. Carson Strong, his quarterback, could be a backup. He's another one. He's threw for like, I think, 289 passes before he threw an interception. So the kid is smart. He plays a Peyton Manning style offense at Nevada. So between him and Carson, they both, they move well on their feet. Their coached with the Colts. He played at Iowa, and so he allowed his guys to create on the field. Romeo Doubs, a receiver out of Nevada, another one. I know I'm picking a lot of Nevada guys, but when you look at
like you called a game there or something.
I must have called a game there. But when you look at the guys, and I say that because I know the scouts actually went out there, looked at Carson, they looked at Cole Turner, and they looked at Romeo Doubs, and those are guys they all told me they liked. And so if you think about those guys, those are guys that can come in. They play some big-time football. And another guy from Nevada, Nate Burleson, he's a Vikings guy. Yeah. He likes those guys as well. So I'm not going to say it's fate, but it kind of fits that mold of what the Vikings are looking for. They're high-character guys.
And high-character guys are what the Vikings have already selected thus far in these first 4 picks. But staying on the defensive side of the ball, do you think they need to address more defenders, even though they've went 3 out of the first 4 picks already, Ron?
Yeah, do you need air to breathe? Of course. When you look at cornerbacks, cornerbacks are like thoughts. You can never have enough. Like, you got to have more cornerbacks because we remember late in the season last year, I mean, you probably didn't do this, but a lot of media people were in the booth when guys would come in the game, they're like, what? Who is that? And so when you're thinking about corners like that were on the team because they had to pick guys up, guys were hurt. I mean, we know there was some COVID stuff, but now if you look at the young guys, Patrick Peterson, who knows how much longer he's going to be able to go. I know you have a guy in mind by the name of Kobe Bryant. Yep. You know, he's a big-time player, won some awards. Yep. But then there's a lot of other corners that can come in as well. Jalen Watson still out of Washington State. There's some guys that can come in and be some pieces that played high-level college football, but also can come in and help the Vikings out. Special teams, I think right now you have your kind of core corners now, but you got to have depth. You got to have guys that can come in and compete.
Tatum, lastly, we won't have this show tomorrow night. So what are you most looking forward to on day 3?
Ooh, day 3. That's a good question. I really like your point about tight end. I think it's also on my list of potential needs, even as we headed into this thing. I think I'm most excited to see how many, if there's a corner, tight end, wide receiver, that would be how I would look in the next 3. I'm excited to see who those guys are. And as you said a little bit earlier, Gabe, these guys we've been able to talk to. We've been able to sit down and do one-on-ones with. We hope that you're being able to see their personalities a little bit more. And one thing that really stays consistent with me is how mature they seem, how they seem very focused on the task ahead. And I think that they carry a lot of the same qualities that this coaching staff is looking for, not only on the field, but off the field.
Yeah, and we'll probably get to learn them a little bit better after they get over this euphoric state, because it's still all fresh to them, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I just got drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, and rightfully so. And we're more excited to see who the next former Vikings will be come Friday or Saturday night. So for Tatum, Everett, Ron Johnson, my name is Gabe Henderson. Thank you guys for staying up late with us one more night as we break down the Vikings draft.